All right, we've got an epic true viewer story tonight. You guys are not going to want to miss this. This comes in from viewer Jen, and this happened around 2001 in Unicoi County, Tennessee, near Irwin, right in the heart of East Tennessee, Appalachia. Now, Jen was about 18 at the time, and she was a freshman in college at a local college there. And she had some teenage friends from other schools, and a couple of the boys, this was around Halloween time, and they had got wind of this church. Apparently, it was a well known local legend about this church. And it's weird that this church sits off in the middle of the sticks, kind of, but it's surrounded by barbed wire. And it's only the church that is surrounded by barbed wire. So they talk, there's a backstory to it that this girl who was 12, 13 years old, she was basically a prodigy, or maybe even a savant. She was very talented on the piano. And as a matter of fact, she was so talented on the piano that people would come from miles around. And the church would be packed every Sunday just to hear this talented girl play the piano. It says she was very pure and she just lived to go to church and play the piano. That's what she lived for. Well, unfortunately, as the story goes, a illness had swept through the local area, a severe illness, yellow fever, the flu, name it back then. There were all kind of illnesses that wiped out large swaths of the population. Well, she fell ill, and she fell deathly ill, as the story goes. And there was a time, for a minute, it looked like she wasn't going to make it, but she did end up pulling through this illness. Well, the story goes that they think what happened was in her weakened state, when she was so weakened by this illness, she was possessed. Because ever since she recovered, she had no interest at all in going to church, and she certainly had no interest in playing the piano anymore. And her parents would talk to her, you're just not feeling up to par. Why don't you come to church and you'll feel better? So they finally basically wore her down. And this girl did go to church one Sunday. And everyone said that when she showed up, she looked disheveled and she just looked off. And she sits down at the piano to start playing it. And as she hadn't started playing it long when she just picks the piano up and throws it halfway across the church. And that's when they said that the demon left this girl's body. And that's what left this gaping hole in the side of this brick church in the wall that goes all the way to the ceiling almost, and it's in the shape of a human. So 3 carloads of them wind up going to check this church out, and Jen's friend is driving her boyfriend's car, which is a straight shift, and Jen says she doesn't have any business driving it. She's not doing it very well. But anyway, so that's how Jen is transported to this place. And she's actually with a gentleman friend in the back seat. So that's really the main interest she had at even going to this trip. But Jen is also a very spiritually gifted, spiritually sensitive person, intuitive, empath, whatever you want to call it. But ever since she was little, she's had a gift. And she said her spidey senses were just all over the place as soon as they pull up on the grounds here. Now, this church is surrounded by barbed wire. It's out like in the middle of the woods. And not only that, but you can tell by the foliage, there's broken trees and everything all around. There's no clear path to the church. You can tell that it's fallen into disrepair for a while now. But it's just the church that is surrounded by this barbed wire. Even though the cemetery, the graveyard was part of the church, it's not surrounded by barbed wire. Well, basically, Jen's spidey senses, there was no way they were talking her into going inside this place. So she wound up sitting in the car with her gentleman friend, making out and doing what teenagers do. But her friend who was driving, they did talk her into going inside. And as Jen was it was getting hot and heavy, in the car with Jen, but it wasn't long before her friend came running out of this church screaming like a madwoman, and she beat a new path to the car. She came out a totally different direction than she went in, and she jumped over this barbed wire fence to get to the car. And she's grinding the gears and everything, but they eventually, get it in a forward motion, and this girl speeds home. Of course, she is so disheveled and so discombobulated, she's not speaking much during the ride home. And when she finally gets calmed down, when they finally get back to her house, she explains to Jen what had happened. And she says as soon as she set foot in this place, you could just feel it in the air that it was off. But it didn't take any time at all before they started hearing this knocking. And this knocking seemed to be coming from underneath, from like under the floorboards. So when you walk in, you can see this piano, and it's like halfway across the room. You can see skid marks where it slid, and two of the legs had actually punched through the floorboards and were like poking through into the crawl space underneath. So only two of the legs were on the floor, so it looks like it'd been thrown. And sure enough, this big hole in the wall, this big gaping hole, looks like a humanoid shape, basically like the Kool-Aid man had run through this brick wall. Well, there's knocking coming from everywhere, and then she said it even felt like the floorboards were starting to move underneath their feet. And what finally did it for her was she happened to glimpse out this gaping hole in the wall, and just across the cemetery, just past the cemetery, she sees this flickering light that is starting to move in their direction. And that's when she called it. That's when she ran out of there screaming and cut a path home. Well, it wasn't long after she got home that the other two carloads showed up. And the boys were kind of laughing. See, here's the rub. What happened was two of those boys had decided to play a Halloween prank on them. And one of them had been hiding under the floorboards, under the crawl space of this church, and been doing the knocking. And the other one had been on the other side of the cemetery with a candle. So it was all just an elaborate hoax to terrify these teenagers. But then the boy got real serious, because after they left, even another couple of carloads of teenagers had come, and he ran them out of the place. But as he was doing this, a large humanoid shadow figure manifested under the crawl space of this place, and it ran him out of there. The joke wound up being on the Joker this time. Now, what do you guys think? Because I have been sitting on this story for a week. I've been trying, and I can't come up with a name for it. And Jen thinks it might have actually been a victim of Hurricane Helene. It's right in that area that got hit real hard, so it may no longer be standing. But she said it wasn't a few days after this, in her English class at college, one of her classmates, one of her colleagues, had actually done a report on this place. She had done her whole essay or report, whatever, on this local place. So if anybody knows the name of it or knows any more of the history, I am all ears. I'd love to hear it. But this story is epic. I want to thank Jen for sending it in, and keep sending me those stories, guys. And thanks for all the kindness, all the support, all the love. Like, share, follow, all of that. I'm trying to grow the channel, so just show me some love, guys. And that's been Jay's Haunted Appalachia for tonight. Keep Appalachia haunted, y'all.